A very warm welcome to those joining us tonight in the gallery and those online for what will be our last council meeting before caretaker period, which kicks in tomorrow, midday. As the CEO mentioned, we've got quite a full agenda, and I'm going to ask Councillor Cowan to do the acknowledgement of country.
Wodonga Council acknowledges Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the first peoples of the country. We acknowledge them as traditional owners and custodians across various lands. We pay our respect to their ancestors, elders, children and young people. We acknowledge the strength and resilience of all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and recognise their continuous connections to lands, waters and communities across the country.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. Item 2 is apologies, request for leave of absence and request to attend by electronic means. There are none known at this time.
For absence leave for the upcoming September meeting. If possible, I will attend by electronic means, but if not, I'm seeking to be made to be recorded for that meeting.
Thank you. That's noted. Thank you, Councillor Cowan. Agenda item 3 is the Good Governance Pledge. Councillor Aldridge has volunteered to read that.
Wodonga councillors have committed to undertake the duties of the Office of Councillor in the best interests of the municipal community, abide by the Model Councillor Code of Conduct and uphold the standards of conduct set out in the Model Councillor Code of Conduct, faithfully and impartially carry out and exercise the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in the Office of Councillor under the Local Government Act 2020 and any other act to the best of their skill and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. Agenda item 4 is declaration by councils of any conflicts of interest. For item 9.7, I would like to declare a general conflict of interest as declared previously when this item has been addressed. Councillor Quilty, if you've got a conflict of interest?
I have a conflict of interest for the closed agenda. Do I declare it now or when we do the closed part?
Perhaps we could just note it now. Item 15.6.
Yes, I have a general conflict of interest in relation to a request by Victoria Lutheran College, which my kids attend.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 5 is the confirmation of minutes from the previous meeting. There's a recommendation there before us. Could I have a mover for that? Thank you, Councillor Hall. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. Seconder for that, Councillor Josh Knight. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Agenda item 6 is question time. There are no questions, CEO. Likewise, agenda item 7, petitions, there are none. And agenda item 8, delegates' reports, there are none. Noting for agenda item 9, there are many items there, and many in the gallery are there for a particular agenda item. And I'm going to seek someone move a procedural motion. Councillor Knight, would you like to read that motion?
Yes, thank you. That the order of business for the meeting be changed to deal with, firstly, with item 9.10 and then item 9.11 before considering the remaining items in the published order.
A procedural motion that doesn't require a seconder. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. That being the case, if bring Council's attention to 9.10, which is the determination of the planning permit application PP 131/2024 Telecommunications Facility at Kenneth Drive, Bandiana. There is a staff recommendation there before, and also, I believe, an alternate recommendation. I'd like to move Councillor Cowan.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move an alternate motion. If you'll beg my forgiveness, this is a long motion that I will read out. And thank you to the staff for assisting me in the preparation of this. The alternate motion is that the council issues a notice of decision to refuse to grant a permit for the use and development of a telecommunications facility on the following grounds. 1, visual amenity impact on residential properties and public open space. The proposal would result in unreasonable visual and amenity impacts on existing and approved future residential areas and adjoining public open space, contrary to clause 19.03-45 Telecommunications, which requires facilities to be sited and designed to protect the environment from adverse impacts. Clause 52.19 Telecommunication facility, which seeks to ensure facilities have minimal impact on the amenity of the area. Number 2, and again, this is the following grounds: inadequate exploration of alternate sites and co-location opportunities. The application has not satisfactorily demonstrated that alternate sites or co-location opportunities are unavailable or technically unfeasible, contrary to clause 19.03-45. Again, telecommunications, which encourages the co-location of facilities to minimise impacts on sensitive land uses. And the Telecommunications Code of Practice 2021 in consideration of alternate sites with reduced amenity impacts. And point 3, inconsistency with the purposes of the Public Conservation and Resource Zone PCRZ. The proposal is inconsistent with the purposes of PCRZ in that it fails to protect and conserve the natural environment and the natural processes for their landscape and habitat values, introduces a visually dominant built form that does not maintain the character and appearance of the public land, thereby detracting from the environmental and landscape values in the zone that it seeks to protect. 4, adverse impact on the context of existing and planned development. The scale and prominence of the monopole will result in ongoing visual intrusion when viewed from multiple locations within existing and approved future residential areas and public open space, contrary to clause 65.04, the decision guidelines, which requires considerations of the impacts on the amenity of the area, and clause 71.02-3, the integrated decision making, which seeks to balance development with the protection of valued landscape and amenity outcomes. And point 5, failure to achieve net community benefit. The visual impact on the amenity of the existing and improved residential areas is considered to outweigh the public benefit of the improved telecommunications coverage at this location. As a result, the proposal fails to achieve a net community benefit, contrary to clause 71.02-3, integrated decision making.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. Before I go to a seconder, can I just confirm under number 4, was it clause 65.01 or 65.04? As read out by Councillor Cowan.
Sorry, the printing is quite small, so there's a couple of ones that are easy to confuse, and that is in 1, it's clause 19.034S, and the same in 2, 19.034S rather than 5, and in 4, it's 65.01 decision guidelines.
Right, thank you. Good.
Just for clarity.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Cowan. A seconder for that motion. Thank you, Councillor Quilty. Councillor Cowan, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I've had a good look at this application. I've had a look at the submissions from the inspectors. I've visited the site. I've had a thorough briefing from the applicant and the objector, one of the major objectors. And in consideration of all that, and in particular the opportunity to attend a briefing with the consultant was probably what tipped my my preference in favour of objecting to this or just deciding to refuse the opportunity to grant a permit. It was the briefing with the consultant, and in particular, the application that came with this proposal completely lost my confidence, I will say, when the impact assessment that was presented to us referred to locations Macclesfield and Avensley, locations 50 kilometres east of Melbourne. It referred to those locations 4 times. I had the opportunity to speak to the consultant that prepared the application, and he said it was obviously an oversight. Well, I feel that, quite frankly, the application didn't show due regard for the concerns of our community. It wasn't a fulsome application. I'm not convinced that the impacts related to the site in Wodonga. I'm not convinced that this wasn't just a cookie cutter approach to applying for monopoles. I think the application lacked integrity and due respect for our community. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cowell, and Councillor Courtney is the seconder. Would you like to speak to it?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Given the length of the agenda, I try to be as brief as possible. I agree on many points that Councillor Count has made, and I also would like to thank the objectors, the submitters, and our staff for preparing such a detailed alternative recommendation. It is always hard to prepare a recommendation like that because the applicant might go further and explore other objection opportunities. It is important for us to have solid planning grounds to base our objection on, and I'm just happy to second what we have in front of us. I agree with all the points that Councillor has made in terms of failure to achieve the community benefit, the loss of visual amenity, the inconsistency with the Conservation and Resource Zone Act. But especially glaring to me, even from the briefing that we received from the applicant, was the inadequate exploration of alternative sites. We do need telecommunication towers, but providers need to do good work and take under consideration not just the community interests, but other alternative locations, work in all honesty with the community and make the best efforts to find the best location. And I don't believe that has been done, which is reflected in point 2, inadequate exploration of alternative sites. So yeah, I support the proposal to not grant the.
Thank you, Councillor Courtney. Councillor Hall, would you like to speak to it?
Yes, I think I'm going to be heading down the same line as my other 2 fellow councillors. And I won't be supporting the application for the reasons that were in the alternative motion. For a start, I share the many concerns that the residents have with the position of the tower, as with the developer who we did have the opportunity to come in and present to councillors. But also I share the concern that the consultant, I felt totally unconfident after we had our presentation given to councillors. Some of the information I believe was incorrect, so it didn't really give us much confidence going forward with their approach. The substantial visual impact on the estate, once erected, will sit in the middle of a residential housing with landowners only 40 metres away. I could imagine people's feelings towards having this big, huge tower. It's an eyesore in the middle of an estate. Doesn't look good, in my opinion. And surely better placement could have been found, in which if all the parties got together and worked to come up with a solution, there were some mentioned, and I think they need to go back to the drawing board and work with the developers and the residential people who will be affected by this decision. There will be the closeness of the tower immediately adjacent to future residential development has already been approved for over 1,145 lots. So, you know, I don't think that's really been taken into account, how that will impact that already approved development. So there is no question that a new telecommunications tower is needed in this area. However, I just think the stakeholders all need to get together and work out to come together with a mutual agreement on where it should be placed. So I like to put in.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Any other councillors? If not, and I don't want to repeat rationale already provided by three other councillors, but the three reasons I too will be supporting the motion. Impact on visual amenity. The consultant made no due respect to the future homes of a subdivision that is live through a current permit. And I think, that was a significant oversight. And also noting the Westcon versus Melton City Council case in 2024, which provided some pretty compelling rationale for councils to reject applications on the basis of visual amenity. That case happened to be in an industrial zone, but for those reasons, I am going to be supporting the motion put forward. If there is nothing else, I'm going to put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Now brings us to 9.11, determination of planning permit application, PP 156-2024, number 4 Beatty Court, Baranduda. There is a recommendation prepared by Officer before us. Do I have a mover for that? 9.11.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Knight, as the mover. Could I have a seconder, please? In the absence of another council moving, so councillors catch up.
I'll second for the purpose of debate.
Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. Councillor Knight, would you like to speak to?
We've approved a couple of these, or one of these at least beforehand. The big thing for me on these ones is that when you buy a block of land, you should have a bit of a say in what goes on in it. And the block sizes in that area range in, it won't be on its own what they're actually asking for. There's already similar battle axe configurations in the area. On the exactly the same. Our council officers have done all the due diligence on the flora and fauna impacts, the wastewater concerns, and other points that have been raised by objectors. And the big one for me is that the risk implications, when we go down to that, it says there, if the application is refused, the applicant may seek a review of VCAT. And then the application is approved, objectors may seek a review of VCAT. So we're damned if we do and damned if we don't. On this point, if someone wants to take it, it's going to be more council money defending one way or the other. But as I said, in my view, there's no reason to refuse it. There's already existing developments, and so yeah, pretty much all.
Thank you, Councillor Knight. Councillor Aldridge.
Nothing further to add.
Would any other councillor like to speak to it? Councillor Cowan.
I just want to ask a question, please, if I may, through you to the most appropriate person. I'm just wondering, has there been mediation between the applicant and the objectors, and what was the result of that?
I'll just go straight to Officer Morn, please.
Just quickly clarify while we're looking for the answer. It's not an alternate motion. It's the motion as per recommended.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. It's a bit confusing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So just while the officer's looking for the response there, are there any other questions on this item or comments that councillors would like to make in relation to the motion?
My further question may depend on the answer to this question.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, the planning forum was held, and There has been some change to the the application. So the applicant has agreed to some design controls on a future dwelling to make it a single-storey dwelling. There are no objections withdrawn as part of that mediation. Apologies for the delay.
Further question. Can you explain the covenants and why it is that people of Baranduda that bought into these properties can't rely necessarily on that covenant or the conditions of that covenant now?
So the wording of the covenant is written like all restrictive covenants. It's in the negative. So it will always say you cannot do something unless with the approval of the transferor. So the covenant is the same in this instance. So it says no subdivision is permitted unless approved by the transferor, and that the transferor now is the Department of Finance in the Commonwealth Department of Finance, and they have given written consent or written approval to the variation of the covenant.
Any other questions there, Councillor Cameron?
Yes, I suppose so. I think I've asked this question of you in the past in relation to another consideration somewhat similar to this, but is it not reasonable for a purchaser to be able to rely upon a covenant, irrespective of who the issuer was?
It depends really on the wording of the covenant. So, I mean, some covenants are very explicit in that it would say a subdivision is not permitted, and that would be the end of it. Most restrictive covenants also apply to all of the properties across the estate. So you would have to have the agreement of all property owners as part of that covenant to the variation. These covenants are worded differently in that they're purely between the transferor and the landowner. So in this instance, it's almost like a switch. It's an on-off switch. If the transferor gives that consent, and legally that has been, I guess, adhered to, and I think beyond that is these covenants are very old. They've been around a long time, and I don't know if we can sit here today and say that would never be the intent, that no further subdivision is permitted within the estate. So,
Any other, Councillor Crawford?
May I ask a further question? You mentioned that the applicant has agreed to keep it to 1 story. How enforceable is it, and will there be any implications if they do build any higher?
So it would be put in place via a Section 173 agreement on the title, and then that title has to be adhered, that restriction has to be adhered to when a building permit is issued. Otherwise, they'd be in breach of that. So the building surveyor and the designer has to adhere to that.
So that's pretty firm. There are not many ways for the purchaser to object to the decision.
Well, they've agreed.
About ways.
Yeah, so they have agreed, the developer has agreed to that as part of the negotiations.
Yes.
And I think that's a prudent permit condition in this instance.
Thank
you. Just another question. So with the 173 agreement, which is what we are dealing with, the change on this now, and if there was approval from the previous owner that they could waiver the 173 agreement, which would have been the covenants on that particular block. Is that correct? Or
sorry,
Are we talking about waiving the 173 covenants on the spot? No.
No, it's not a 173 agreement. It's a
not.
restrictive covenant between the Department of Finance and the landowner.
There are no further questions or comments. I'm going to put the motion to a vote.
I do have a comment.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to just foreshadow that as I have in the past, I won't be supporting this decision to issue a notice of a planning permit. While I have not yet been sought an alternate motion, if this is not carried, I would seek an alternate motion from the officers. In my recent look at this, and I guess what I'm concerned about for the objectives here is neighbourhood character and amenity, and the sense that they buy into a lifestyle estate with the view that they will have large lifestyle blocks. I have looked at a recent case of council where a similar case was overturned in that the senior member of VCAT said, "I'm not satisfied. There will not be a detriment, including in regard to neighbourhood character and amenities such as privacy and overlooking." I similarly voted this way in a previous situation that is very much like this, and I won't be supporting this decision tonight.
Thank you. Is it a question or a comment?
No, I haven't had a chance to speak to it.
Oh, okay.
I went into this. I'm in two minds about it because I have myself not been supportive of changes. I mean, I get that's locale, and people buy into an estate with the view that that's what the covenants that they've all agreed to are the covenants, and that's quite frustrating when people aim to change those. But having said that, the luck with VCAT with a lot of these situations, I mean, there's a push by state governments to cut things up, make them smaller. So with the possibility of a VCAT case, and I don't like using that as a reason, but they can be expensive for council, and I see the objections have been answered pretty comprehensively by the council staff, planning staff. So, and for that reason, I'll probably, we'll have to support what's in front of the motion in front of me. So, but I don't like it. I don't think it's fair on all the people that buy into this estate with the view that that's in the covenants that they've agreed to. So I think it's anyway. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. I'm going to check. Are there any other comments, or would anyone else like to speak to this matter?
Oh, well, I'll just briefly comment. I will support the motion put forward by Councillor Knight, and for pretty much the same reasons. Looking at the property rights of the new owner and the property rights of the owners adjacent to this property, I can see there are similar sized blocks around this proposed car block, and in my view, the agreement to build the one-story building and the answers given to all the other objections like wastewater concerns, flora and fauna impacts, risks of fire, etc. They have been addressed comprehensively. So for that matter, I will be supporting the application to subdivide.
Thank you, Councillor Cooley. CEO would like to make also a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just in relation to process matters, has been highlighted that one councillor might seek an alternative. Being able to draft a refusal decision that would stand up in VCAT will be difficult to do tonight. So I'm just flagging that with councillors, and given the application time frame, we might be taken on for a no decision matter by the applicant. So just putting that in your minds for consideration as part of this process at all. Not saying that if you if you want to do a refusal, we have to assist you in that process. There's just some matters in relation to that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, CEO. Well, I'm very, very sensitive to neighbourhood character elements. I think in this instance, like Councillor Knight and Councillor Quilty, acknowledging very similar sized lots adjoining or in close proximity to the subject land, and the neighbourhood character threshold doesn't quite do it for me in this instance. So I will be voting for the motion, the recommendation. If there are no other comments or questions, I am going to put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Councillor Knight, Councillor Aldridge, Councillor Goble, Councillor Quilty, Councillor Hall. All those against? Councillor Cowan. The motion is carried. I'm going to bring council back to the original agenda, 9.1, change to September 2025 council meetings. There's a recommendation there before us. A mover for that. Or the alternative. Are you moving the as recommended?
As recommended, yes.
Thank you. Councillor Quilty is the mover, is the seconder. Who would like to second it? Councillor Knight. Did you want to speak to that at all, Councillor Quilty?
Just briefly explaining that and making sure that I myself understand it correctly. Currently, we have 2 September meetings scheduled on the 22nd of September and 29th of September, and the financial statements are scheduled to be presented at our September 22nd meeting, and we are voting to cancel our September 29th.
Thank you. Councillor Knight is the seconder? No? Any other councillor like to comment? If not, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 9.2, the 2 cities, 1 community partnership agreement. We have a recommendation there before us. Also an alternate. Councillor Aldridge.
Yes, I'd like to move the alternative recommendation, Mr. Mayor.
Would you like to read that?
The council defers the decision on the 2 cities, 1 community partnership agreement until the elected Lake Huon Ward councillor can participate in the process, and that the strategic action plan 2022-2025 progress report be received and noted.
Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. Seconded for that motion, Councillor Cowan. Councillor Aldridge, did you want to speak to that?
I just want to use this time to acknowledge the importance of our 2 cities, 1 community partnership with Albury City. This partnership has been one of the most valuable tools we have for joint advocacy, for delivering shared projects, and for ensuring that our 2 cities present a united front when it comes to funding, services and opportunities for our broader community. Together, we have achieved so much more than we could have alone, whether it be in health advocacy, tourism or cultural initiatives. And I look forward to transport being on this list in the future. It's fitting that we delay the formal adoption of this partnership agreement until after the Lake Huon Ward by-election so that our newest councillor can be part of this significant partnership.
Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. Councillor Cowan, is the seconder. Would you like to speak to it?
Thank you. Yes, and support what Councillor Aldridge has said, because I certainly personally recognise the importance and benefits of collaboration between Albury and Wodonga, and this has perhaps never been more evident than during our advocacy for a new hospital on a new site. I believe that our community's combined strategic leadership is the best thing to drive collaborative outcomes, reduce unnecessary costs, and wherever we can ensure that we don't duplicate services and facilities to our two communities. I'm also very pleased to receive the progress report, particularly to note the continued implementation of the regional natural environment strategy with over 50 actions to protect and enhance our environment across Albury and Wodonga. And I am very much looking forward to the soonest opportunity to meet with the Albury Mayor and councillors in strengthening our partnership for the best outcomes for our city.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. Any other councillors like to speak to it? Councillor Hall?
I'm just going to add that, you know, I do agree that I believe we should defer this until the Lakecoombe Ward new councillor is finalised, because I believe it's a review that all the Wodonga councillors should have input into. And decisions like this should be left to after the election. We still have a formal ongoing agreement, and this agreement would be reviewed with the new councillor on board, I hope, and it'll give us a chance to properly discuss and hopefully get some input off the new councillor. So I just think being less than 24 hours to take a period, I think there's going to be a few issues like this coming through that I believe should be deferred until after the election period.
Thank you, Councillor Hall.
A question, Mr. Mayor? Just to clarify, because I saw different copies in different sources, I didn't quite understand. Has Albury Mayor signed the agreement?
No.
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 Okay. Good, because I saw one copy somewhere signed by Albury.
Yeah, there's an existing 2022 to 2025 agreement signed by the previous Albury Mayor, Charlie King, but not the existing.
I saw a copy was a signature from current mayor, and your name was without the signature.
Right.
But it's probably because we've seen so many copies.
Maybe.
Yeah. No, that's good. It hasn't been signed by these other parties.
Certainly not by me.
No, not by you. I could see that.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Quilty. Any other comments? If not, we'll put it to a vote. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Agenda item 9.3 is the privacy policy review. There's a recommendation there before us. Mover for that.
I'd like to move that we defer this policy. Reason is, again, this is a review.
So, Councillor Hall, have you actually got the motion? This is just to defer it.
It's just to defer the motion that's.
And we'll get you to speak to it if we get a second. Yeah, a time frame for your proposed motion. Defer it until
After the cancellation.
That's what, it's 4th of October. So to defer the privacy policy until post by-election.
Yeah.
In 4th of October. Thank you. As the mover, do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Knight. Now, Councillor Hall, would you like to speak to that?
Yes. Again, this is a review of a council policy that council will possibly adopt. Tonight, we've been asked to endorse this policy to go out for public exhibition feedback. The public consultation and feedback will not commence until after the election period, which is the 4th of October, and that's what is stated in the motion. However, I believe it should be deferred for much the same reasons as the one city agreement partnership. We have a new council expected to join our council group who will be expected to support policies with not having any input into it. And I believe, and we can't go out to consultation with this policy until after the election, which is on the 4th of October. So I don't see the rush in pushing this through. And I believe we should wait until we get the new councillor on board, give them the opportunity to provide their input into the policy, and then the policy can go out for community feedback straight after it gets endorsed by council. In my personal opinion, the perception in the community with endorsement of these policies and plans and the 2C1C agreement, less than 24 hours before council goes into caretaker period is not a good look. It appears like council's trying to rush these policies through before a new councillor is elected, when we don't have to. If need be, we can add another council meeting into the agenda at some time after the election period is over with these agenda items. We have a big agenda tonight, way more than usual, including closed council meeting agenda. It's over 800 pages of documents and 19 agenda items to decide on. For transparency reasons alone, I support the deferment of the policy until a later date after the caretaker mode. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Knight, would you like to speak?
Councillor Hall summed it up pretty well, transparency wise, and the fact that we're going into caretaker mode. I think most of these policies can wait till we get the extra councillor on.
Any other councillor comments or questions? Councillor Cook.
I'll just make a quick comment. I do agree with Councillor Hall, the mover, and Councillor Knight, seconder, on the transparency issue and on the timing issue. Should we agree to put this policy out for consultation, we will have a timing issue because there is a long break due to the caretaker period and the time in between when we vote, when the community puts their feedback in, and when we receive it again. There will be a lapse of time. And plus, this policy is really important. It's about collecting, retaining, and protecting private information. And it concerns not just staff and councillors, but also sometimes members of community who engage with us during consultations, etc. It is a very important policy, and it has already been tested a number of times. For example, during COVID, when council's health information was collected, during various community consultations, when participants had questions about signing privacy declarations or whatnot. So it is an important and sensitive policy, and I feel it is appropriate for us to have input from the new councillor once they come on board before we put this out to community for comment. And I also agree that we are looking a bit desperate. It's not the biggest agenda that I've read, but we are looking a bit desperate now to push a few things before the community consultation. Let us not do that when we don't have to. So yeah, I'll support the proposition.
Thank you. CEO, are you able to read the motion as you've typed it out, just so we're all on the same page?
That this matter be deferred until after the by-election. Be the Huon Ward by-election.
Mr Mayor, through you, probably to the CEO. I know that this policy currently says that the next review is due on the 20th of March 2025. Are there any implications given that it should have been reviewed prior to this date?
Thank you. Through the Mayor, Councillor Cowan, even though it's past its due date, the policy still stays in place. So if any changes, the existing policy will be applied by council. We have had a number of questions from councillors about how we handle privacy information. However, the legislation is our baseline for that. Council's policy extends on that. And certainly the constituents' rights are being protected under legislation. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Any comments or questions? If not, I'm going to put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Councillor Quilty, Councillor Hall, Councillor Cowan, Councillor Knight, Councillor Aldridge, Councillor Goble. That's unanimous. Thank you. Agenda item 9.4, Community Engagement Policy Review. There is a recommendation there before us and also an alternate. Councillor Hall, want to move?
I'd like to move to defer this one as well.
So that's the alternate?
Yep.
Would you like to read that?
This item be deferred to a further workshop by councillors at a councillor briefing after the election period of October 4th, 2025.
On the completion of the by-election?
Yes.
The Lake Huon Ward. This item be deferred to defer the workshop by councillors at a council briefing on the completion of the Lake Huon ward by-election. Have a seconder for that motion, Councillor Knight, Quilty. Councillor Hall, would you like to speak to it?
Oh, look, I'm going to just probably repeat much of what I said for the last item, but these policy reviews, I believe, should come up after the caretaker period, election caretaker period, because it would give the opportunity for our Lake Ward representative, once elected, to provide input, but also to it's requesting another workshop by all councillors to go through the policy that's been presented to us. So it gives us an opportunity to work together and come out with the best outcome.
Good, thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Cordy, would you like to speak to that as the seconder?
No, not much to say. Yes.
Any other councillors? If not, I'm going to put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. Item 9.5, Community Funding Request Program Review. It's a recommendation before it, prepared by officers and also some alternate recommendations. Councillor Knight.
I'd like to move alternative recommendation number 1, that this item be deferred further workshop by councillors at a councillor briefing.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Knight is the mover. Seconder. Councillor Cowan is the seconder. Councillor Knight, would you like to speak to that?
It's pretty much the same as the last few. It's, you know, I think this would be good stuff to be worked through with all councillors on board. And yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Knight. Councillor Cowan is the seconder. Would you like to speak?
Thank you. Look, I think on the basis of what the other councillors have said in respect to transparency, I think that's the most weighty consideration for me. However, I am aware that this program review is a timely review, and that to get this out, we'll need to get onto it quickly after the by-election to make sure that we are making this transparent and aligning it with our processes leading up into the budget for next year. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Cowan. Any other comments? Councillor Thornton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with the proposition to defer the decision on this program review as well. Community funding requests, how we deal with them, how we deal with requests for funding of community projects of sponsorship and donation is something that has, should I say, polarized views amongst councillors, and it is a very important issue for community as well. Obviously, sometimes projects are at stake, and sometimes people feel that money should be distributed evenly throughout the community, not to preferred community groups. Like I said, varying community views, and it will be fair when we have the balance, when we have full council here, and with a new council make the decision of how we're going to do it in the next 3 and a bit years.
Thank you, Councillor Courtney. Any other comments? Absolutely agreeing with the principle articulated by other councillors, but I would like to shout out that I think community funding program that has been articulated here is a great draft, and I commend the officers for that. There's no other questions or comments. I'm going to put it to a vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. 9.6 is the Albury Wodonga Foodshare donation. There's a recommendation there before us. Move it for the recommendation.
I'd like to I'd like to move an alternate or an amendment to the motion, and that is as read, that the council approve $5,000 donation to Albury Wodonga Foodshare through the Community Sponsorship and Donations Program in the 2025-26 financial year, and that the CEO report to the Council periodically on the donations made through the Community Sponsorship and Donations Program to the Council.
Did you note that? You got that? Captured that? Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Cowan. Do we have a seconder for that?
I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry. Councillor Cowan, could you please read it again?
It is as recommended. The first point is that the council approve a $5,000 donation to Albury Wodonga Foodshare through the Community Sponsorship and Donations Program in the 2025-26 financial year. And two, that the CEO report to the council periodically on the donations made under the Community Sponsorship and Donations Program in the financial year to the council.
Okay, thank you.
Good. So we've got a mover, Councillor Cowan, a seconder to that motion. Councillor Knight. Councillor Cowan, would you like to speak as a mover?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't think we can undervalue the work that is undertaken by Albury Wodonga Foodshare. I think this is a modest donation to the cause. If we can contribute to that, I'm very willing to do so. I think we make these donations available at short notice to organisations. I will note that in the annual budget of $15,000, $7,200 has already been extended in this period, and that's part of the reason for my second part to the recommendation, that we get to know that it is transparent to our community where these donations are going, and that we report through council meeting to our wider community how these funds are spent. But I think $5,000 is a modest contribution to the work that the impactful work that Foodshare does, and I commend this donation to my fellow councillors to approve.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. Councillor Knight, would you like to speak to it?
I think it's a great cause. Albury Wodonga Foodshare is one of those places that people can go to in times of hardship. I think there's a lot of people who have been there at different stages of their lives. So it's one of the great things about a community is when you can rely on other community members to help you out. $5,000 donation is, especially in the cost of living and stuff, there's a lot of families in need. It's certainly well worth it, and the bare minimum I think we can do as a community.
Thank you, Councillor Knight. Councillor Aldridge and Councillor Cook.
Foodshare is one of the most important community organisations in our region, and every week they provide food relief to thousands of local families who would otherwise go without. Their impact is enormous, and I think we can all agree that they do incredible value to our community. This particular request to support the development of a business case and concept plans for a fit-for-purpose food relief hub, which will be a project that has the potential to make Foodshare's operations even stronger and more sustainable for the community. And whilst I recognise that our community sponsorships donation is limited, I believe this is an investment in an organisation that directly addresses food insecurity in our community. And for that reason, I'll be supporting the motion tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Aldridge and Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was actually seeking to clarify something that Councillor Aldridge has already mentioned. The proposed application of these funds is for development of a business case and concept plans for the new facility to distribute food. Do we have any information as to what the total cost of this development, developing the business case and the concept plan is going to be? And are there any other contributors of funds towards this?
Do you want to respond to that, CEO? Or Officer Hogg?
I don't have the total cost in front of me at this point in time, but I do know that quite a number of local government associations across the region are contributing. So there is a number of confirmed. So there are 3 other local governments in their application were articulated as confirmed. Some of the same level, some higher, and one lower than us, and a number of unconfirmed. So they are seeking contribution from across the footprint that they work.
Yes, yes. Thank you. What I was seeking to clarify, we have some information here talking about confirmed and unconfirmed donations from various councils and shires like Indigo Shire, Alpine, Wodonga, etc. So is this a project of, like, say, state significance? And in this case, where is this facility going to be located? Or is it, do you understand?
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
question? So a number of councils contributing. So what are we contributing to, and where is this going to be located, and how much our community is going to benefit from it, if at all?
So my understanding is that they're seeking about a $100,000 total investment to ensure that they can develop a business case and concept plan to be shovel ready. And I do believe that that is to occur locally. And at this stage, I suspect their planning is in Wodonga. I would have to actually confirm that, but from all conversations to date, it is looking to be in Wodonga.
And all the other councils listed here are contributing to the facility in Wodonga.
Because its distribution and service goes across multiple footprints across the region.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Hall?
Yes, I think solely for the fact that this is about to formulate a business case and concept plans that are to aid state and federal government infrastructure funding. I think, and that other councils have kindly donated money towards this planning. I will support it. I'm not one that likes to be doing these things all the time, but if there's a solid reason for it, I think, and this one seems to be a solid reason, I will support it for that, because they do a great job, there's no doubt about that. And there are a lot of vulnerable people in the community that do go hungry, and they are there to help where they can. And I think we do need to have a facility and an organisation that looks out for our vulnerable. So, yeah,
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Before I speak, Councillor Crowley, I noticed you had a number of questions, but would you like to speak to it at all?
I have a comment, not a question.
Yeah.
I am normally I'm against a council making such donation out of the rate-based funds. I'm all in favour of people, myself included, making such donations, food donations or whatnot, individually and from their after-tax money. I was also in doubt seeing that it was a state on national, or I guess it's a statewide project, and unsure where it's going to be located and which communities are going to benefit from it the most. But I'm still not 100% sure how my vote is going to go, but I'm about to be tipped seeing the commitment of all the other councillors and commitment, although a lot of them are unconfirmed, but there are confirmed that they're no less than ours. So, yeah, if somebody's prepared to push me a bit further.
Not sure that I can push you, but I mean, I can't think of an organisation that's doing, I mean, it's such a great organisation, really contributing to playing and filling a gap in our community and the broader region. You know, this project, I think, is of regional significance. It's great to see the contribution of other councils. I think the application is really timely in the context of a up-and-coming state election, where they may be subject to having a master plan, concept plan, business case, be able to lean into that state election for some funding to help fund this food hub. I'm going to be voting for the recommendation. There's no other questions or comments. I'm going to put it to a vote. All those in favour? Councillor Knight, Councillor Aldridge, Councillor Quilty, Councillor Hall, Councillor Cowan, Councillor Gogel. That's unanimous. I'm now going to declare a conflict of interest for item 9.7. I'm going to pass the chair to Deputy Mayor Councillor Cowan for that agenda item. So please contact me when it's finished. Thank you.
Here we go. Excellent. Have a recommendation from officers there. Do I have someone to move that recommendation? Councillor Aldridge.
Thank you. Mayor, I would like to move the motion that council make a submission to the VGCCC objecting to the application submitted by Huon Hill Club Ltd, trading as Club Wodonga, the approval of premises for gaming with 70 electronic gaming machines at 48 Reid Street, Wodonga, as per the attachment. And 2, does not secure representation for the council at the VGCCC hearing.
Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. Do I have a seconder for that recommendation, that motion? It's not typical, but for the purposes of this, I will second the recommendation. Thank you, Councillor Aldridge.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. The Victorian Gambling and Casino Control Commission will ultimately make the final decision, but tonight we're being asked to consider if Wodonga Council should put forward a submission objecting to the application of 70 EGMs. And for me, the answer is very clear. I cannot, in good conscience, support the addition of 70 more poker machines into our community. While the short-term promise of jobs and local investment might sound attractive, council officers undertook a comprehensive assessment of the applicant's proposal and identified there are more disbenefit factors than benefit factors, showing an overall negative impact. It has been reported that in 2023-2024 alone, Albury Wodonga residents lost more than $100 million to poker machines. That is money stripped away from families, from local small businesses, and from our broader community. They are specifically designed to be addictive, using psychological tricks that exploit people's vulnerabilities. So the idea that it's simply about personal choice ignores the fact that these machines are engineered to keep people playing and losing long after they intended to stop. We also need to recognise that should these machines be approved, it would lift Wodonga's density of poker machines above the state average. And I'm not sure that's something we really want to be above average for. Beyond the economics, there are very real social harms. Poker machines are strongly linked to problem gambling, family stress, financial hardship, and even crime. We've heard clearly from our community through petitions, emails, and submissions. The majority of people who have made contact with council do not want to see more pokies in Wodonga. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. And as seconded to the motion, I'll reserve my right, but ask if there are any other comments, or would you like to speak to the motion? Any other councillor?
I'll speak. Okay, poker machines. I'm of the same position I was at the last council meeting on the gaming machine objection, objecting to the submission being sent to the VGCCC. I haven't changed my position on that. While I acknowledge and take on board all the submissions received, and I thank everyone for them, by members of our community and from those from outside the region, like Sydney, which was listed on the petitionchange.org, which was mentioned in the Board of Mail article on Sunday, I support the VGCC going through their process in deciding on the application before them on whether to grant a permit for the Huon Hill Hotel to have the 7 gaming machines at their venue. What seems to be getting lost here is the VGC are the authorised authority who will decide on their approval. Wodonga Council has been requested, Wodonga Council is being requested in the officer recommendation to not permit the put a submission in to not permit the gaming application. Submissions are open to anyone who does or does not support granting this permit. And if they choose that they don't support it, they should forward their feedback and submissions to the direct authority themselves, the VGCCC. I think this would have greater impact and a best way of getting your voices heard. I personally don't like gaming machines. However, I do believe people should have a choice to make their own decision. You can actually gamble online, and I had a look this afternoon. There are numerous sites on the internet that have gaming machines that you can log into and use a debit card, and they're not monitored by anyone. So, like, you know, people could easily lose a lot of money on doing it that way. Lastly, the applicant has included a Club Wodonga harm minimisation report that proposes that the facility will have a dedicated gaming policy and procedural manner to minimise harm, which will include and not limited to self-exclusion program. So what this will be is that if people just are having issues, they can get themselves excluded from the venue. And so, you know, that's a way of dealing with compulsion to have to gamble or addiction. Welfare checks and mandatory staff training will be available. And I believe, you know, if done properly, this can work. I'll just conclude. Council has spent a considerable amount of money to invest and compile this report and the possible submission. And I would also expect those who are against gaming machines would not patronise other local venues like the Commercial Club, SSNA Club, Elgin's, the Stump, all of who have gaming machines. So, you know, us not supporting this application, there's so many other venues that they can go to. I don't see it makes a huge amount of difference.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments? Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Knight. Councillor Cowan, and thank you all the councillors for your feedback. Look, I'm a great believer of free choice, but that's by far not the only reason on which I will base my vote tonight. I thank all the submitters for and against this, and please trust me that I take ludomania, which is addiction to gambling or problem gambling, very seriously. I just don't believe that the absence or presence of a particular number of poker machines in the area actually helps addictions. Addictions do not appear just so, and they cannot be helped by banning the item people are addicted to. Addictions can be made worse by banning such things. There are all sorts of approaches to help people with addictions, and banning the object of their desire is by far not one of them. Like I said, I don't treat ludomania lightly. However, just to illustrate my point, I was in Melbourne this morning in St Kilda. I attended an Eastern European artisan bakery, and here is my personal sin. I'm addicted to rye bread. I bought 8 loaves of various types of rye bread and a large 4-piece roulette. That cost my family $87. And I had to carry bread from Melbourne to Wodonga by train in a huge suitcase. That will impact my level of obesity, and will definitely add unnecessary carbohydrates to all the rice, healthy carbohydrate, but still. I do not for a second propose that the beautiful bakery is closed or rye bread is banned from Victoria. If this becomes a problem and I put on a couple more kilos, it will be not the bread that's at fault, but some other things in my personal build that are not satisfied or not addressed. Therefore, I believe that we should not make submissions. Like Councillor has said, people who are against addition of these gambling machines should contact VGCCC directly. Or another way of killing a business in the area is ignoring it, boycotting it, not attending it. It's a very simple way for free market to take its course. Thank you.
Theo, I have a question. If there are no other comments or questions, I have a question. So
You asked a question.
if you have a comment or something.
No, wait.
Question. The question is, we've had a number of briefings on, councillors have had a number of briefings on this matter, including consideration of the possibility of making a submission to the VGCCC. Can you tell me how much? I understand we've engaged an independent expert consultant to provide the economic impact analysis, and we've our staff have spent time preparing a social impact assessment. Can you give me an idea of how much that's cost in terms of consultancies and staff time?
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. There's been two components to this project because there was an initial application and then a new application lodged. The adjustments to the report, excluding staff costs in evaluation, a number of staff are involved, was just $2,600. However, the original application cost $3,600 for a peer review, $6,500 for legal advice, and $6,200 for economic analysis. So that's $16,300 on the original application and a further $2,600 since. We didn't track staff on this matter, so there has been significant staff.
Thank you, CEO. I have reserved my right there. Are there any other comments from councillors?
Yeah, I would like to agree with Councillor Hall and Councillor Quilty in I don't think it's really in our remit to be sort of stepping on the VGCCC's. That's their role, is to make these decisions, and I think the submission should be going to them. I think council shouldn't be making decisions about businesses as such. If we're going to do businesses, once again, going back to it all, how many KFCs, how many McDonald's, how many petrol stations do we have, what fast food are they selling? You know, where do we stop on that stuff? I think councils and local governments need to probably focus a little bit closer to home on this one and not get involved in the submission either way, and let the community decide by voting with their feet, as Councillor Quilty said.
Thank you. I have, thank you, Councillor Knight. I have reserved my right, so I will speak to that matter and then go to Councillor Aldridge to sum up. I will say that in December 2023, this council unanimously adopted the gambling harm preventative policy, and together with the action plan, there was a clear commitment from this council to reduce exposure to high-risk gambling. And there are two members of that council still in our current council today. So increasing the number of eligibles is totally incompatible with that commitment. The social impact assessment and the independent expert economic analysis are clear that more pokies will bring a net social and economic disbenefit to Wodonga. Look, there's some alarming figures in this economic analysis, and for every $1 diverted from household spending into electronic gaming machines, an additional 53 cents is lost from our economy. The analysis says that in the first year alone, Wodonga's economy would shrink by $3.1 million, and the local workforce would contract by 9 full-time jobs. That is not a contribution, that is a cost. And we can't ignore the facts that Wodonga residents have lost $10.7 million on pokies in 2022-23 alone, and nearly $30,000 every single day In just 5 months in the last year, $5 million was lost. And this is in a city where we are the 23rd most disadvantaged in 79 municipalities in Victoria. It's important that when council adopts a policy, that we are committed to it. That is what we have adopted, and that is what we should be committed to. I think we should take comfort as a council that we are not making the final decision. We're actually just putting the evidence on the table that this will contribute to gambling harm. These machines are deliberately designed to be addictive, and I think we have a responsibility as councillors to uphold our policy, to make this submission, and take comfort from the fact that the decision will be made by an independent third party, the VGCCC. If these EGMs are approved, someone will profit, but it won't be Wodonga. Thank you, councillors. I'll hand to Councillor Aldridge to sum up.
Yeah, probably just one comment to add, just to reply to the ability. Genuinely hope that people tonight are listening or, you know, have lived experience and are going through tough times because of gambling harm are not insulted by your comment about comparing a bread addiction to a gambling addiction. I think there is a significant difference there. Borderline insulting for those people. That's all.
Point of order.
Could you refer to your point to the clause that relates to the point of order, Councillor Bunty?
No, I cannot refer to the particular clause. However, I believe that this committee has introduced a very strong comment to a part of my speech that was taken out of the context of my whole speech and made insinuations that it may be insulting.
I think you'll need to take government's advice on that point of order. Unless you can point to a particular clause in the governance rules. Is there something
Can adjourn.
could I ask you, CEO, is there some through you, CEO, to our governance officer, is there a particular clause that relates to this particular point of order?
Clause 64.9. If it is defamatory, indecent, abusive, offensive, irrelevant, trivial, objectionable in language or substance, deals with subject matter already answered, embarrassing a councillor, or relates to personal matters or relates to the personal hardship. So the chair must exercise the decision.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I can appreciate, Councillor Croce, that embarrassed you.
It did not embarrass me. However, I believe that Councillor Aldridge has attempted to embarrass me. She has taken the
Thank you, Councillor Croce. I've taken the point of that. Thank you. Councillor Aldridge, would you care to withdraw your comment?
That's my comments.
All right, councillors, we have a very important vote in front of us. I ask all those in favour. Thank you, Councillor Aldridge, Councillor Cowan. All those against? Councillor Coulty, Councillor Hall, Councillor Knight. I ask for a division. All right. All those in favour? Councillor Aldridge, Councillor Cowan. All those against? Councillor Coulty, Councillor Hall, Councillor Knight.
If we leave the chair, councillors, that decision has not been made. That decision was lost. There is no decision of council on the books. I would recommend that council makes a decision on this matter so that it's very clear to the staff, given the amount of work that's been done, that what you choose to do going forward, because a lost motion is not a motion of council.
Sorry, could you just explain it?
Because a matter's lost, essentially, there's no record of a council decision on it. Someone's put forward a motion and it's been voted on and it's been lost, but there is no position of council. So the staff have done a lot of work on this and we have no direction of how to go forward.
So we
So
need an alternate motion.
we do, yes. In my view. Okay.
Councillor, can I question that? I see that if it was lost, then we're not putting in a submission.
That is not clear. Yeah. because-
I don't see it. Then, where does it say?
Sorry, councillor Hall.
Pretty obvious.
Yeah, there's nothing on our books because that motion's been lost. So if, councillor, you feel that the insinuation is that we've not lodged a motion, I suggest that that might be an alternative.
Councillors, do we have an alternate motion? I would like to consider a decision motion of the existing motion.
Councillor Three, may I ask for further clarification from the CEO?
What about we suspend standing orders? Does anybody have the mind to
Yeah,
suspend
that's-
standing orders?
Get that motion on the table to prevent standing.
All right,
You can adjourn.
okay.
5 to 10 minutes.
Thank you. We've got into some tricky governance areas here, so I will request councillors that we take an adjournment. Do I need to vote on that?
Yes, you do. Yes, so you won't need a seconder because it's procedural, but you will need a vote.
Yes. All those in favour of adjourning for 15 minutes?
You just need a vote.
Thank you, councillor. All those in favour of adjourning for 15 minutes?
Sorry.
Thank you, councillor Knight, councillor Aldridge, councillor Cowan. All those against? Councillor Quilty, councillor Hall. Majority in favour. Thank you. We'll adjourn for 15 minutes.
Councillors, can I ask we go to the breakout room, councillors?
There's been no further information to progress this matter, so we will be moving on as though the matter is dealt with, unless any other further information comes up before the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Agenda item 9.8, the public exhibition of the draft domestic animal management plan. There's a recommendation there before us with also some alternative motions drafted by staff. Have a mover. Thank you. Councillor Aldridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move alternate recommendation 2. The council endorses the draft domestic animal management plan 26-2030 for public exhibition, and the public consultation commences after the conclusion of the election period on October 4, 2025, for a period of 21 days in accordance with the community engagement policy, and a report be presented to council following the conclusion of any exhibition period, detailing the community feedback received, any proposed changes to the document, and a final version of the DAMP for consideration and adoption.
Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Cowan. Seconder. Councillor Aldridge, would you like to speak to it as a mover?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I support the draft domestic animal management plan going out for public exhibition. This is an important step in ensuring that Wodonga continues to responsibly manage domestic animals while also supporting the well-being of both our community and our pets. But it's also a learning opportunity for us. And by putting this plan out for public comment, we're opening the door for our community and our hardworking animal rescue groups to have their say. These groups are on the front line every day, and they see firsthand the challenges around giving animals the best chance at a safe and happy life. Public exhibition is an opportunity for them to bring forward ideas such as subsidised desexing programs, reduced adoption fees, or even new education campaigns to promote responsible pet ownership. They may also have views on topics like registration, microchipping, off-leash areas, and how council can best partner with the community to reduce the number of unwanted or abandoned animals. This plan will only be strengthened by the feedback we receive. And for that reason, I fully support placing the draft domestic animal management plan on public exhibition, and I encourage all interested groups and individuals to make their voices heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. Councillor Cowan is the seconder.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I am supporting the motion tonight, and respecting that we have made different decisions on deferring other items. This one is slightly different in that I think it is important that we have this management plan prepared and ready to be adopted by the 4th of December this year. And so that feedback being reported back to council and the timing of this is quite important. This is a statutory requirement to have this management plan, and that's what's influencing my my support. Nonetheless, it's important to have this management plan for our domestic animals. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. And I'll open up to others. Councillor Hall.
While I support the plan, and I've been a known advocate for animals and our welfare organisations locally that do an amazing job with very limited resources. I see this because this is a plan, and it's planned. Any consultation will be after the 4th of October due to caretaker. Plans, and this is my view, plans and policies at such a short notice should actually be deferred. And so to be consistent with the other decisions that we've made, I believe this should also be deferred.
It has to be after the conclusion of the election period on October 4th.
The plan to go out.
Yeah, the alternative recommendation. public exhibition and public consultation commitments.
I know, but
Conclusion.
I'm talking about allowing the new councillor to have some, like we did before. Plans and policies are much the same.
Same.
Yeah, plans and policies are much the same. And so that's why I believe it should be deferred. But that's not the motion in front of us. But I'm just giving my view on it because it's no different to the other policies that we put forward. We wanted to be transparent on that. We probably should be transparent on this one too.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Any other? Councillor Quilty?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, perhaps a point of clarification. I'm not quite clear on the intent of Councillor Aldridge, but my belief is that once this council endorses a policy for public exhibition, councillors they can only receive community feedback and introduce any changes in accordance to the community feedback. But should the newly elected councillor wish to make or suggest any changes to the policy, they wouldn't be able to do so because then it would have to go out to community consultation again. So I think that it would be prudent for us if we wanted to take the impact of the new councillor on board before it goes to community consultation. My belief is it would be prudent to defer the endorsement by council until after the by-election.
I think we have some legislative requirements. Need to
By 4th of December, I believe we'll.
So I know the CEO wants to make a comment, but I'm just going to go to Councillor Knight first. Councillor Knight, no? CEO, did you want to make a comment, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A series of comments, I suppose, is that we do have a 4th of December deadline, and that's a legislative deadline. We could look to seek an extension of time of 6 months from the relevant authority due to the election period. I think that's it. Yes, I think that answers all the questions. So yes, there is a legislative timeframe, 4th of December. There's no way if Councillor Aldridge's motion gets up that we can go to consultation, fix that report up and get it back in front of council before the 4th of December. On the matter that you raised in regards to councillor input, same sort of basis, new council comes on board. If there's exhibition and the councillors' changes are consistent with the community feedback, that should flow through okay. But if they're not consistent with community feedback and there's substantial change, we would have to go back out to exhibition on those substantial changes. And again, we're going to miss the 4th of December date. So I think your choices are about seeking extension or processing for the matter.
May I ask, what's involved with seeking the extension? Is it a huge burden on council?
I wouldn't call it a huge burden, but given our response times to the state are fairly slow, it is an unknown. Yeah, and it may not be approved and we may still be non-compliant with the 4th of December date.
So what happens to us if we're non-compliant?
We're unsure. We did try to do some research on this today, but we weren't able to obtain an answer in this period of time.
So if I could just ask a question, within our library of documents, where do plans sit in the hierarchy versus policies? Because I understand the principal council Hall's trying to make, but surely there's a hierarchy in here, and this is a plan policy. Did you want to speak to that?
I think, Mr. Mayor, yes, so strategic plans and policies. So policies are typically a version of council's implementation in extension to the legislative requirement. There is a legislative requirement for a dam, so that strategic policy would be, that strategic position would be higher than a policy statement.
Right. Right. Okay, Councillor Cowan.
Can I just ask a question about the consultation that's led to the development of this draft plan and how much has already gone into that, and if there were any major or significant changes to the plan based on that early consultation?
I might hand to Director Schultz to answer that question, being more involved in this matter.
Through Mr. Mayor, Councillor Cowan, it's my recollection we had 14 pieces of correspondence back with respect to the draft that went out a number of months ago. Changes weren't significant. That's about the best I can respond. Yeah, there weren't significant changes. The proposed DAMP or the draft DAMP domestic animal management plan is a more concise version of the 21-25 document and somewhat revised, but no significant changes were implemented or are proposed.
Thank you. Just a further question. There's a discrepancy between the recommendation of 21 days and the report saying that the exhibition period is 28 days. What's the right number?
We believe 21 days is the correct number. Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
It's consistent with our policy.
It used to be 28. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'm going to put the motion to a vote. So all those in favour of the motion?
I'm sorry, could we hear the motion again, please?
It's the alternative recommendation 2. Council endorses the draft domestic animal management plan 26-2030 for public exhibition, and the public consultation commences after the conclusion of the election period on October 4, 2025 for a period of 21 days in accordance with the community engagement policy, and a report be presented to council following the conclusion of the exhibition period, detailing the community feedback received, any proposed changes to the document, and a final version of the DAMP for consideration and adoption.
CEO, did you want to make a comment just before we do go to a vote?
I'm concerned that motion by itself sets us on a path that's not fully legal. So, and a way to address that matter would be to, if the mover and seconder were willing to add a clause 3 to say the council seek an extension of 6 months from the relevant authority due to being an election period for the election of a council.
Suspend standing orders to have a discussion about that. Can I move that motion? Because I have a question for the councillors.
You can move it, or I can put it to councillors to support procedural motion to suspend standing orders. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously.
Okay, so
Standing orders suspended.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. So my question to the councillors is, the theory behind the October 4 date was so that we could avoid the election period essentially. But given the compliance issues and the legislation requirements, do councillors have any major concern with putting this plan out earlier? And if we went with alternative recommendation 1, where it essentially goes out now?
Look, to me, as I understand this issue, there is no point, if we are endorsing it now, there is no point for us to defer the consultation to after the caretaker period, because we will have done our bit and it will be with the community. So in my view, we either vote to endorse now and go to the community and just take its normal course, regardless of the caretaker period, as much as we can in legal terms, or we defer the decision to endorse completely, until which obviously we can't because of the 4th of December due date. So we either endorse it now and just go, or we endorse it after the caretaker period and then it goes and it's late for 4th of December.
What I'm just trying to kind of ascertain and test the waters with councillors is if I made an amendment to my original motion and I got the support of Councillor Cowan, who seconded the motion, is if we do change it to alternative recommendation 1. Obviously, I just want to flag any potential concerns that people might have if I did do that.
I would be willing to support that, because I think that was the intent of my my argument in the first place in supporting your motion.
Whether I vote for or against alternative number 1, it makes more sense to me than alternative number 2, like the way I understand the decision.
Okay. I think we can
vote to.
First of all, I need to,
Here's what they will do to us if we breach.
so at the conclusion, are you wanting to move a motion to reinstate standing orders?
Standing orders, can I move that motion, Mr Mayor?
Yeah, all those in favour? And just to be clear, thank you, so standing orders are back in. So can I just be clear, are you
Yeah.
retracting?
So, yeah, Mr Mayor, I would like to make an amendment to my original motion and I will read the alternate recommendation in full. That council endorses the draft domestic animal management plan 2026-2030 for public exhibition for a period of 21 days in accordance with the community engagement policy, and a report be presented to council following the conclusion of the exhibition period, detailing the community feedback received, any proposed changes to the document, and a final version of the DAMP for consideration and adoption.
So just to be clear, I think just before we do that, Councillor Cowan was the second. Do you agree to this amendment?
I do.
Yeah, you do. So that's the motion you put forward. I'm going to ask for a seconder. Councillor Cowan. With that new motion on the table, would anyone like to speak to that? Councillor Hall?
Having the discussion that we've had, and if I'm with the view that have been sort of guaranteed or advised that adopting this plan and it going out during a caretaker mode is all right under the Act, under the Caretaker Act, I will support this motion.
CEO?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Hall, on that matter, the executive team got together today and did discuss that and whether it is impacted by the caretaker period. And our current position is that we don't believe that there's anything substantially different in this that would affect the election. However, that could change as we work through. We would have to deal with that if it suddenly becomes an election matter for that ward.
Because that's my biggest concern is that. And
Not aware of anything in particular in regards to that ward that would raise an issue about this matter currently. And given the comments and feedback that we've received in our early consultation were quite low, I'm thinking that it's not going to be an issue, but I can't promise you the unknown of the election period and what might happen during that period. And if it does become an issue, then we can step back from it. But you do have issues around optics during that period.
Councillor Coulton?
I will make a comment. I think I just about have made up my mind how I'm going to vote, and it's probably against the proposed alternative. While I do think that domestic animal management plan is very important, and it not only tells the community how they are supposed to look after their animals and promotes responsible pet ownership, helps council to create or look after the facilities for animals. There are all like facets to this plan, what is important. I would also, in the interest of transparency and in the interest of consistency of our previous decisions at this meeting, to have a full council to make a decision to endorse it for public exhibition. And honestly, I understand that it's extra trouble for us to seek the extension. However, I think this whole caretaker period was partially brought upon us by the state's arbitrary decision to split us into wards. Why not allow us a small favor and give us the extension, honestly?
Thank you, Councillor Coulton. Any other councillor comments?
Thank you.
Councillor Coulton?
It seems unfortunate that we are receiving advice as we're considering this item. I think based on my previous commentary, and in light of the advice just provided by the CEO about the unpredictability of the circumstances during the election, I will have to carefully consider my vote in this matter, but I might foreshadow an alternate motion in that case, and that the alternate motion adds to this recommendation the proposition that was put by the CEO earlier of the seeking the extension for 6 months from the appropriate authority.
Good, thank you for that. Councillor Aldridge, and then I'm going to put to a vote.
Yeah, so I guess the whole reason behind, how going out of standing orders, is to test the waters on this. I guess the thing I'm looking at it is from a legislative point of view, and the fact that there is no guarantee that we can make this happen, and it's very worrying that we don't know what the outcome would be. The likelihood of this issue becoming politicised during the election has been flagged as minimal in the Lake Huon ward. I'm not saying that it won't be, but I'm kind of more on the side of let's wait and see what happens, and we'll deal with it when it happens. Just given the nature of the plan, it's a domestic animal management plan. It's something that we need to have legislation-wise. There's nothing in here that's a groundbreaking change from anything we've had previously, and setting it out for community consultation now means when our new councillors sworn in, they're going to have all that information there, and then they can make a decision. This is just putting it out for community consultation. We're not locking anything in. Pending something happening during the election, I genuinely don't see a problem with something like this going out during the caretaker period.
Thank you, Councillor Aldridge, for your right of reply. We're now going to put to a vote. All those for the motion? Councillor Aldridge. All those against? Councillor Courtney, Councillor Hall, Councillor Cowan, Councillor Goble, Councillor Knight. Motion fails. I'm going to move to Councillor Cowan with a shadow opportunity.
Thank you. Mr. CEO, could you provide the words for point 3 of the recommendation?
So point 3 would be that council seek an extension of 6 months from the relevant authority due to the election period and the election of the Lake Huon Ward councillor.
Sorry, Councillor Cowan, are you point 3 of alternative 1, alternative 2?
No, it's just the whole new motion.
Which we do.
Yes, but what are point 1 and point 2?
Oh, I beg your pardon, it's just a whole new motion.
So it's just to defer.
Yes,
Seek a
that's right.
deferral.
Yes,
Is those is that so?
No, to seek an extension of 6 months from the relevant authority for the completion of the
Draft motion.
legislative.
So a new motion, not part of alternative 1 or 2. CEO, can you read it again just so everyone's on the same page?
The council seek an extension of 6 months from the relevant authority due to the election period and the election of the Lake Huon councillor.
That's the whole motion.
Yep. That's the,
We have to put in there, because it's come under 9.8, so we don't need to put in there.
Can I just ask a question? This can, after the election, this can be brought out, and if we choose that we've got a few things that we need to decide, we can organise another council meeting.
So before we discuss it, can we just get a move of it? Are you prepared to move that?
Yes.
So Councillor Cowan's moving that motion. Is there a seconder to that motion? Oh, sorry, I didn't see who was first. Councillor Hall. Councillor Cowan, would you like to speak to it, and then we can open it up?
For all the obvious reasons, I think we have got justification to seek an extension of 6 months. The unpredictability of an election period, our caretaker policy, for all those reasons, notwithstanding that domestic animal management is really important to our community. I think that this is the most predictable and reliable way of getting the best outcome for our community.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. Councillor Hall is the seconder.
Yeah, look, I think it's the only way forward. It's just a shame that we've got a lot of things in our agenda that have come up, before this caretaker period, which has really made it difficult. But I think to do the most transparent thing and the right thing is probably to defer it. I mean, we can at some later stage, maybe before the due date, have another council meeting and bring a lot of these other items up. We can organise a council meeting if need be, but I think it's probably the most transparent and best way forward.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. I'm going to open up to other councillors. Any comments or what's been already said on this? If not, I'm going to put it to a vote. All those, do you want to write a reply? No. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 9.9 is the Baranduda Boulevard proposed speed zone change. Again, there's a recommendation with an alternative. So move it for that. Councillor Knight.
Yeah, I'd like to move the alternative recommendation.
Would you like to read that?
Yeah, the council resolves to support and give notice of proposed reduction of the speed limit on Baranduda Boulevard from 100 kilometres an hour to 60 or 80 kilometres an hour, extending from the Beechworth-Wodonga Road roundabout to a point which is 1,000 metres east of Beechworth-Wodonga Road roundabout, and undertakes a public engagement process in accordance with Council's community engagement policy. A minimum 21-day public engagement period shall stipulate that persons may make a submission on the proposed speed limit change, a future report to be presented to a council meeting at the conclusion of the engagement period for a final determination of this matter, and that the Chief Executive Officer be authorised to undertake all the necessary administrative processes to enable the above.
Thank you, Councillor Knight. A seconder for that motion. Councillor Cowan is a seconder. Councillor Knight, would you like to speak to it?
I do. I highlighted this, I think, and a few other people have brought it up as well. This is going to be a real issue in the next few months. Unfortunately, it's not one of those things I think we can push off for a 6-month extension. The kids will be going to the school in that area in January, end of January, February. And it's going to be an absolute nightmare at 100 kilometres an hour. And I think everybody, there's a few people that were here from Baranduda before, everybody's well aware of it. And I think there's a lot of other stuff that we need to be doing as well in that planning and in a hurry rather than it's not council's fault, but we're going to have to clean up the mess.
Thank you, Councillor Knight. Councillor Cowan as a seconder.
Thank you. Look, in 2020, the Westmont Aged Care Services residents petitioned council for concerns about the speed limit outside of Westmont, and I think that this is very similar in its concerns. There was a concern that there would be a fatal accident. We absolutely want to avoid that. There's going to be up to 525 students attending that school. Looking at the ways in which they will get to the school, I think it's fairly likely that they will be taken in a car or another form of motorised transport. The new speed zone approaching Westmont Aged Care has been extended to John Schubert Drive, and we've reduced speed limits to 40 kilometres an hour outside the school St. Francis. It's easy. So I think, that the opportunity for community to have a say in this is important, and I've already observed some of the commentary on this, and I think that, genuinely there is concern, and that this is a very, timely consideration that we need to be onto now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. Any other? Councillor Courtney.
Again, a question or a request for clarification. The alternative motion says 60 to 80. what does it mean? Does it mean we'll reduce to 80 and then to 60 gradually on parts of the road? Or will we say to the community, what do you reckon, 60 or 80? Then we count them and hope that the entire community has participated? Or what's this 60 to 80? How are we going to decide, 60 or 80?
Councillor Knight, as the mover of the motion, would you like to answer that? I'm happy to answer it.
I'll leave it to you.
My understanding is it's 60 or 80, not moving from 80 to 60. I'm noting Director Schultz nodding there. Did you want to respond?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, currently, as we know, the speed zone is 100 kilometres an hour from the roundabout through into at least Myrtle Creek. We have certainly got support from the police to reduce it down to 60. But we also have guidelines through DTP who strongly support the 80 kilometre speed zone. So what I think we would like to get from the community is a view, what are the community's views on a 60 zone or a 80 zone? We'll take the community's feedback back to this chamber and then with support of the council, put that argument back to the Department of Transport and Planning.
Thank you.
Again, the question, it's not a comment. I really, is it worthwhile for us to say 60 or 80 when we go to the community? If we say 60 or 80, we hope for the majority of the community, like in an election vote, this or this, and then we count them. But given that community participation is not always very active, and sometimes we have under 6 submitters, we may not receive results that are indicative of what's the best outcomes. And given the changing traffic conditions in the future, it would be really valuable to receive community feedback. I just think that 60 or 80 is a little bit messy, for lack of a better word. I would like to tighten it. I would like to say either 60 or 80. I don't know. Again, I seek commentary on that because to me it seems a bit difficult to deal with once we receive the results. Unless we're going to like send out the rate notice and say also tip yeah, 60 to 80.
So, yeah, did you respond? Director Schultz.
So may again through you, there is officer support at DTB level for 80 kilometres an hour. That meets all the current traffic and safety related guidelines. It's my understanding that DTP won't necessarily support a 60 kilometre speed zone if they are not direct access points from properties onto Baranduda Boulevard, as is the case in perhaps other parts of office. So I think the stronger likelihood is support from DTP for 80 kilometres an hour, but I think if we had a strong argument from the community for an alternate, that may well influence and find an outcome.
Good. Councillor Crotty, did that answer your question?
Oh, I still think we need to pick a figure.
So we've got a motion on the table, and I suspect if it was a fail, you may be foreshadowing another one. But I think we need to deal with the motion that is currently on the table that Councillor Knight's moved, Councillor Cowan second. Are there any other councillor comments or questions? Councillor Hall?
Yeah, look, I think 60 would be, personally, my opinion, would be too low. Also, it isn't direct off like the school, St Francis or the aged care facility. They're directly off the boulevard, whereas this would be off turning into a road where the school is further down. So it's not directly accessing a problem for the school other than people probably stopping to turn into that road. I'm in two minds about this, you know. I've thought about it. I do really want to get community engagement and seek thoughts from the people that will probably be using Baranduda Boulevard the most. So the only way to do that is to support it going out, but it doesn't mean I support the change in road speed. So I'm just interested to hear what people, feedback and submissions we received, but I'm more inclined to support an 80 kilometre rather than 60.
Okay.
Councillor Knight, is this your right to reply?
Yeah, unless you want to say something.
No, it's all good.
Look, and I agree both with Councillor Quilty and Councillor Hall. It would be nice to be able to say one or the other, but Kitchington Road, there's a lot of new estate up in there. The DTP have, I think they've prophesied that most people are being dropped off by a vehicle, motorised vehicle. If any of those kids decide to walk to school, they've got to cross that boulevard. If they've got an electric scooter, they're going to be crossing that boulevard. If they've got a push bike, they're going to be crossing that boulevard 80 kilometres an hour. Is awesomely fast for some of those kids. So even though it is not on those roads, my hope in this is that I also agree that 80 Ks as a person travelling through to Baranduda would be much nicer for me, but I would rather be doing 60 kilometres an hour and having some decent crossings and stuff like that in place until something, as I said before, can be formatted and designed to alleviate the problem of kids crossing. Overpass. Yeah, overpass is a bit of an underpasses. But yeah, something along those lines, because we don't have walking paths to cross those roads or get to those roads. There's a lot more to this than just that speed limit, but at the moment, that's what's on the table. So, yeah, I'm hoping the community comes back with 60.
Thank you, Councillor Knight, for your right of reply. With no further councillor comment, I'm going to put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? That's Councillor Knight, Councillor Aldridge, Councillor Doyle, Councillor Cowan. All those against? Councillor Quilty, Councillor Hall. The motion is carried. Thank you. 9.10 we have done, as well as 9.11, the beginning of agenda item 9, which now leaves us to item 9.12, the mandated glass fourth bin options for consideration. There's a recommendation that councillors have provided, the officers have provided, along with an alternate. Could I have a mover for one of them? Councillor Aldridge, what would you like to do?
The alternative recommendation.
Would you like to read that?
Wodonga Council formally joins with the Glass Advocacy Group to lobby the state government to postpone the implementation date for the provision of the purple bin service to its community on the proviso that there is no material adverse cost to the community. Wodonga Council supports the Glass Advocacy Group's call for the expansion of the container deposit scheme to include the acceptance of wine and spirit bottles. Wodonga Council remains committed to working with the Victorian Government and to advocating for waste services that provide flexibility and discretion to consider service efficiency, ensuring that financial, operational and environmental impacts are proportional to the benefits delivered to the community. That the CEO be authorised to work with the Glass Advocacy Group and other regional councils to facilitate the above and to report back to the council twice yearly on this matter, and that the curbside waste contractor be regularly updated with respect to the proposed implementation of the glass recycling service to Wodonga.
Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. What the seconder for that? Councillor Cowan. Councillor Aldridge, would you like to speak?
So the community's made it very clear to council that they do not want purple bins, and that's why joining with the Glass Advocacy Group to lobby the state government for a postponement of the purple bin implementation date is the right thing to do. It gives us time to properly consider all options rather than pushing ahead with a system that our community has strongly rejected. And at the same time, we should be advocating for smarter solutions, and calling for an expansion of the container deposit scheme is one of the most effective ways to improve glass recycling, reduce waste, and deliver direct benefits back into the community. This approach has strong public support, I believe, and I think it's the direction we should be pushing on behalf of Wodonga.
Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. Councillor Cowan.
Thank you. I would really commend the officers' report to the community. It's well worth a read. It's very thorough, and I actually really don't need to think about this one. I've had a lot of consultation with my community and read a lot of community commentary on this, and I really feel like I am, very accurately representing the views of the community that they don't want a purple bin for different and valid reasons, but there's no space, no need, and the additional costs. And I think the stats speak for themselves on the success of the container deposit scheme. And Wodonga is doing an excellent job in collectively redirecting curbside blast collection by nearly 200 tonnes over 5 years. I think $1.6 million has been returned to the community since the container deposit scheme has started. It would be great to have wine and spirit bottles included. I think we'd up the return to our community considerably. And the Victorian state government does have the authority to force councils to introduce a purple bin for glass. But councils can really, with collective advocacy, I hope that we can demonstrate to the state government that there are really viable alternatives that can save money and incentivise great recycling outcomes and return money back to our economy. It's a no-brainer. It's a total win-win for our community.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. Other councillors? Councillor Hall?
Yeah, look, I remember when this was flagged when I was on the Waste Committee, and I wasn't really keen on the idea then. I think this report is a good report. I think it makes a lot of sense. There isn't support for another bin in the community, another cost burden that people just don't need. And Wodonga's been one of the best recyclers in nearly all of the 79 councils. So we've been out there in the forefront, with recycling. As Councillor Cowan said, our container deposit schemes support it really well. And I've actually taken bottles and what have you to there, and it's always considerably busy. And so I don't really see the need for another glass bin. And as the report suggests that, they could take, we could have it that the CDS collection depots expand their collection to other glass bottles and jars makes so much more sense. And I don't know why they haven't really investigated doing that, but yes. And also I'd like to say that, adding an extra bin cost, I just got my rates today, and with our bins, the levy and the the whatever, that amounts to 20% of your rate. So adding another burden onto that, it's just going to make it worse. And we need to be looking at ways to sort of bring our costs down, not adding to it. So, yeah, I support this recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Any other councillor comments? Councillor Crawley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I very much support the alternative recommendation. Purple bin has been a concern on councils and communities' mind for a few years now, but now it's obviously become pressing. We do not need another bin. It's a huge cost factor and very questionable benefit from the point of view of recycling. I think the suggested alternative provides a better solution, and it's usually helpful for advocacy to have an alternative solution rather than just saying no. I think the alternative is good. I think it's a great idea if wine and spirits bottles could be included. We are surrounded by wine region. Wine culture is very nice here, and it will be nice for the community to just to dispose of wine bottles useful instead of just showing them in the yellow lidded bin. Hopefully there are a lot less spirits bottles there. I think 2 shots of spirits once twice a week is quite enough. Other than that, I just hope that, and Councillor Cowan said hope, and I very much emphasize this, we very much hope that the state listens to our advocacy and becomes of the same mind that it's a much better alternative and we don't need more. There's been enough cost on the community already imposed, so no.
Thank you, Councillor Quilty. Any other councillors? I'll just make some comments before I go to you, Councillor Aldridge, provide a reply. Again, just noting that additional $35 per ratepayer average. It's been estimated report, an excellent report. Commend that report to our community for reading. That CDS Wodonga as a regional community is the 5th most active user of the CDS scheme, which is incredible given the size of our community versus other communities in the state. So no, I'll be strongly supporting this. Councillor Aldridge.
Yeah, just to finish up, I think it's really nice that given some of the controversial topics on tonight's agenda, that we're all really unified on this and we're all working together for our community to oppose the purple bins. And the community can feel safe knowing that we'll do whatever we can to stop this imposition happening.
Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. I'm going to put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you, and look forward to advocating with some of our regional neighbours on this issue. Agenda item 9.13 is the property divestment and acquisition policy review. There's a recommendation there before us. Do I have a mover or an alternative motion?
An alternative motion. That we defer,
Councillor Knight?
that we defer the policy review until after the FY election.
I'm just repeating that. Oh, actually, I'll just wait. Yeah, do you mind just repeating that?
We defer the
Yeah.
property divestment acquisition policy review until after the by election.
Got that? See you. So that's moved by Councillor Knight and seconded by Councillor Hall. Did you want to speak to that at all? No? Councillor Hall?
No, look, it's just the same reasoning as deferring some of these other. It's not what we want to do, but it's just I think it's just what we have to deal with. So, please. Yes.
Any other councillors? CEO, I note in the policy draft, it refers, sorry, in the actual briefing, in the agenda paper, it refers to it not including logic, but in the draft policy, there's no reference to excluding logic. So just for future noting when that's being done. If there are no other questions or comments on that, I'm going to put it to a vote. All those in favour of the motion, that's carried unanimously. Thank you. On the home stretch for the public component of the meeting, agenda item 9.14 is the Avalon Park Estate road names. There's both a opposite recommendation and an alternative there. Can I have a mover for one of those? Councillor Cowan.
I'd like to recommend an alternate recommendation, and that is that the council approves the use of the following road names. Sorry, I need to, having now reading that, do you mean the council approves the use of the following road names for submission to Geographics naming Victoria? Okay, so we need to add that. The council approves the use of the following road names to Geographic names Victoria, and that is Patagonica, Rustgill, Maidenhair, Fringe Lily, Elderberry, Pennywort, for the residential subdivision at Avalon Park Estate, Stage 6, and 2, authorises the Chief Executive Officer to advise Geographic Names Victoria of the resolution in St Gazettal for the use of the road names. And 3, the council requests the CEO to submit a report to council considering the establishment of a place names committee.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. As the mover, do I have a seconder for that alternative motion? Councillor Aldridge. Councillor Cowan is the mover. Would you like to speak to that?
Oh, there's so much to this. Look, we had a faltering start with the recommendation and motion that was adopted at our last council meeting on these road names. These are the alternates that have been put up. Hopefully they will meet the naming rules. But I think the emphasis that I want to put on this motion to the councillors is that we need to do whatever we can to expedite this, to make it streamlined and reliable for our developers, to make sure that they are meeting the naming rules and that there is a bank of names that is acceptable to our wider community that our developers can rely upon. And the use of a street naming committee would be really helpful in building up that bank of names with people who are invested in what our future looks like. And I think our developers would be most grateful for that. So that's the emphasis that I want to put on this. Good luck to all of those names. I have no real comment on those, but I think we can do better into the future.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. Councillor Aldridge.
Yeah, just thinking back on some of the commentary we received last time after the last road naming, there was some feedback saying we don't want all our street names to be named after native plants. And essentially, this is what we've ended up with. So again, this is a great way for us to, saying that we really do need to be considering the establishment of a place names committee. And the idea behind that, it's not to hinder the developers, it's really to assist them so they do have a bank of names. It's going to speed up that process of going back and forth all the time. And that's it.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. Other councillors? Councillor Hall, then Quilty.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with these road names. These names that were provided by the developer, which is on report, following the fauna and flora-based names, which I actually tend to like.
I like them too.
And we will not have problems with the gender issue like we did last time. And apparently it's been they've been looked at by the Geographic Names Victoria, and they've been assisting in with discussions with these names beforehand. So I don't see a problem with these names being supported. But having been on the committee, the chair of the committee, we did have, and we've probably still got a lot of lists that we were putting together for developers and parks to be used, that these lists to be used. But sadly, we couldn't get the committee back up again. But I don't have an issue with it, but it can hold things up a little bit at times because you do have people on the committee that don't agree, but, that's how it is. But, yeah, I don't have an issue with the recommendation that's been put forward.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Quilty.
Look, I don't have an issue with any of these names either, even though I can't visualize the actual plans for each of the proposed names. I very much support the attempt to reestablish or consider any impediments that might exist in reestablishing the place names committee. I have spoken in council meetings publicly many times that I regret having to stop the place names committee. Previous council stopped it due to a lack of interest in participating from the community, despite going out and advertising many times. I think it's a lovely way for community to engage with councils. I think it's a very useful way to collect a large bank of names, and I do hope that we have a bit better luck.
Thank you, Councillor Quilty. Councillor Knight.
Just did a quick look there, and I think it's been very gender neutral because you've got Penny on the bottom there, you've got Lily, there's a maiden, they've got Rusty and Gil have had their name combined. Pat's up the top, and Elder Barry got changed to Elder Berry, so the old fella didn't feel really left out. I think they've done a really good job with the names this time.
Thank you for that take, Councillor Knight.
It took me all day to work that one out.
Before I go to Councillor Cowan, what I really like about this alternate is particularly the third one, the council requests the CEO to submit a report to council considering the establishment of place names committee. And the intent there is not to hinder developers, but to provide that portfolio of bank of names that they can readily happy into knowing that they've been pre-approved without any contentious elements. So I'm strongly supportive of this alternate motion. Councillor Cowan, any comments as the right of reply?
Let's go.
Okay, so putting it to a vote, all those in favour, carried unanimously. Thank you very much. So that concludes all the items within agenda item 9. So we've got reports for noting there are none. Agenda item 11 is reports for information. 1.1 is a record of council meetings. Any questions or comments on that? If not, going to move to 11.2, decisions, the decisions register. Any questions of the CEO or directors on that? No? Which then moves us to agenda item 12, notices of motion, there are none. Agenda item 13, general business. Is there any items on the general business tonight? No. There's no urgent business. Which now leads us to agenda item 15, confidential business. The recommendation is that the meeting be closed to members of the public in order to consider matters pursuant to section 3, subsection 1, the Local Government Act 2020, and that the meeting be adjourned for 2 minutes to allow the public to leave the chamber. Could I have a mover for that?
Can I request that we change it to 5 minutes?
Yes, so we can, so 5 minutes instead of 2 minutes. Could I have a mover? Councillor Knight, seconder, Councillor Aldridge, all those in favour. That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, those joining us in the chamber for what it's been a very long meeting. Welcome back to the public component of the council meeting. Agenda item 17.1 is a return to open council. There's a recommendation that the ordinary meeting of the council be resumed. Could I have a mover for that? Seconder, Councillor Quilty. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. 17.2 is to adopt the in-camera recommendations. The recommendation is that the recommendations of the closed meeting of the council be adopted. Could I have a mover for that? Councillor Knight, seconder, Councillor Hall. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Agenda item 17.3 is the public release of the decisions made in the closed council meeting. CEO, are you happy to read those?
I will commence, so they're quite lengthy, so we'll start them off. So 15.2, which is in regards to the service review prioritisation. The public recommendation for that resolution was that council initiate 3 service reviews in the 25-26 years. In relation to item 15.3, proposed sale of land, Baxter Whelan's Road, Barnworth and North Logic. The public component of the recommendation is that subject to a heads of agreement being entered into, generally in accordance with the key terms below, Wodonga Council gives notice under section 114 of the Local Government Act 2020 that it intends to sell land described as land parcel B and land parcel C being part of lot 15 on PS 901711S, located adjacent to Logic Retardation Basin and AusNet Services Barnworth North Substation, Baxter Whelan's Road, Barnworth North Logic. 2, that the public notice stipulates that persons make submission in respect to the proposal in accordance with the council's and community's engagement policy, and that written submission must be received no later than the date that is 21 days after the publication of the public notice. 3, that the council receives further report on the completion of the public consultation period to determine whether to proceed with the sale or not. 4, that the council authorises the chief executive officer to negotiate and enter into a heads of agreement with the proponent purchaser for the sale of land parcel B and land parcel C being a part lot 15 on PS 901711S, located adjacent to Logic Retardation Basin and AusNet Services Barnworth North Substation, Baxter Whelan's Road, Barnworth North Logic. 5, the key terms of the heads of agreement shall generally be as follows. Price, the purchase price will be $300,000 exclusive of GST based on a land area of 3,000 square metres. Deposit, a 10% deposit of $30,000 exclusive of GST will be payable on the day of sale. Settlement shall be no later than 30 days after the registration of the plan or subdivision. In regards to item 15.4, options for Gateway Island Community Garden, the public component of the recommendation is the council advises Parklands Albury Wodonga that entering into a MOU with them or forming a community asset committee with them is not supported. The chief executive officer or their delegate be tasked to work with the Bhutanese Multicultural Community Farm Committee of Management to identify expansion or alternative opportunities for the gardens, and that the update reports be provided to council at least twice annually, and that staff develop a communication plan that specifically addresses the culturally and linguistic diverse community. In regards to item 15.5, Wodonga Race Course Precinct land parcels, the public component of that recommendation is that council issue an expression of interest for the lease agreement for Crown land and council-owned land parcels commencing at the expiry of the existing agreements. That the feasibility for a service management contract be assessed with a report back to a future council meeting, and that the CEO be authorised to negotiate the lease terms as appropriate and to report back to the council for final approval. In relation to the item 15.6, proposed land sale, Baranduda Boulevard, part of the opportunity site, The public component of the recommendation is the council does not accept the offer to purchase approximately 6.8 hectares of the land parcel referred to as the opportunity site. The council authorises the chief executive officer to continue discussions with the proposed purchaser and that a further report be considered by council at the outcome of those discussions. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, CEO. Which now leads us.
Sorry, the council, I'll read that again. Sorry, the public recommendation for the proposed sale of land is the council does not accept the offer to purchase approximately 6.8 hectares of land parcel referred to as the opportunity site. The council authorises the chief executive officer to commence an expression of interest process and that a further report be presented to the council on the outcome of any offers and negotiations. My apologies.
Thank you, CEO. That now leads us to the close of the meeting. The next scheduled meeting will be 6 p.m. on Monday, September the 22nd, 2025. Thank you very much for everyone's participation. Thank you, staff. Thank you, council. Thank you, those online and those that joined us in the chamber earlier. Meeting's closed.